Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Governor Cuomo. Thank you for joining us. This is becoming a recurring event to have our governor here with us in Central New York, and we're very happy to welcome you back, especially here to the Inner Harbor, where you have been several times. In the recent past, the Inner Harbor really was a symbol for the slow economy and the, sort of a symbol of how upstate New York had been neglected, and state government seemed to be focused on other places. And since Governor Cuomo has been governor, he has been to Central New York so many times. And just here at the Inner Harbor, he has turned this around. We have new hotels, new shops. There's a lot of development happening here in the Inner Harbor. We're very excited about that. I was with the governor on Owasco Lake for the Bassmaster Challenge, where I caught a fish. I didn't say, and I have the pleasure of introducing some of the other elected officials that are here. Senator Dave Valesky has joined us. Welcome, Dave. Assemblyman Bill Magnarelli, Al Sturpey, and Sam Roberts are all here. Thank you all for joining us. The president of the Syracuse Common Council is here, Van Robinson. Hello, Van. And I'm going to go off of your program, not to make anyone nervous, but I see the chairman of the Onondaga County Legislature, who has my budget in his hands right now. Ryan McMahon is here. Welcome, Ryan. And I see also the minority leader of the county legislature, Linda Irvin, is here, and legislator Peggy Chase is here. You have town supervisors here. I know that we always have a big bipartisan welcome for the governor, because I appreciate the fact that the governor has always had politics on one side and then the business of doing New York's business on the other side. And what has happened here in Central New York makes me very proud to be able to join him here again today. And I want to tell you one more thing before I go. The governor signed the design build legislation for us for our Inner Harbor project yesterday, and I thank you very much for doing that. We are committed to making this project one that you will be very proud of, and we hope to make it easy for the rest of the folks around the state to do a project like this. If we do a good job of it here, it'll be easier for you to do these kinds of projects. We are committed with our partners on the legislature to making that happen. And I have the honor of introducing Syracuse's mayor, Stephanie Miner. Mayor Stephanie Miner.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be here again for yet more good news. You will be hearing more of the details later by speakers who are much more in tune and can talk in detail about the exciting announcement we're making today. I just want to talk in general about how important it is for all of us, elected leaders and people in this community, to really think about creating jobs and economic development and attracting businesses. And what we have learned from thinking about this strategically is that our higher institutions of learning and of healthcare are real drivers of economic development. And we have learned that when we work with them in partnership and when we invest in schools and colleges and universities, it inures to all of our benefit, particularly our benefit in Central New York. From classrooms to laboratories, our centers of higher learning here in Central New York, a number of them in my great city of Syracuse, are job creators that create economic growth. But we have a governor who has also insisted on investing in education, not just in colleges and universities, but of course all the way to pre-K. And investing in things from pre-K to SUNY 2020 is really indeed investing in our future for all of us in New York. And so I want to thank him for making that investment a priority and telling him that that is good for us as New Yorkers, and it is particularly good for those of us in Central New York, because we are the beneficiaries of having so many excellent institutions of higher learning who are partners with us in local government. And one of the most recent partners, but one of our best partners, is it's still relatively new, president of Onondaga Community College, and it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Casey Crabill to talk about our announcement today.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Minor. Thank you, all of you, for joining us here today. And we're here for a very exciting announcement regarding SUNY 2020. The SUNY 2020 program was launched by the governor, the legislature, and SUNY in 2011 to integrate the academic excellence of our public institutions with the states and with each region's economic development strategy. It's a smart, forward-thinking program because in the 21st century, a university is no longer simply a university. It's a central part of the surrounding economy. Institutions like OCC are training students to meet the demands of a changing and more technical workforce while also leading the way on cutting-edge research and the development of fields like healthcare, technology, and manufacturing. And SUNY 2020 recognizes that. By creating a competitive environment where universities all across New York State propose projects to bring together economic development and academic initiative of the university, and we submit them to the state for funding. The program is in its third year, but it's only one example of how Governor Cuomo has prioritized and focused on higher education since taking office. The Startup New York program is tied directly to campuses like Onondaga Community College, making SUNY schools literally job-creating magnets. The regional economic development councils have brought together the top academic leaders in each region with the top business leaders to literally sit down at the same table and forge a regional economic development strategy that works for each of the state's unique regions. So Governor Cuomo, thank you for putting higher education as such a priority over the past 4 years. OCC is proud to join with you in making this state's workforce and our economy stronger than ever. It's at the core of our mission. It gives me great pleasure to welcome now to the podium my new and good colleague, Dr. Quentin Wheeler, president of the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry, to describe our collaborative application for round 3 of SUNY 2020. Quentin.
Good morning. Thank you, President Crabill, County Executive Mahoney, Mayor Minor. I'm thrilled to be here today as part of this announcement of the SUNY 2020 Challenge Grant Program. As many of you no doubt know, Onondaga Lake has made quite the environmental resurgence in recent years. It's gone from one of the most polluted bodies of water in North America till today, where it is rapidly returning to a beautiful and biologically diverse lake. In fact, ESF just 3 days ago completed a 24-hour bio-blitz where our faculty and students and friends from the community documented more than 450 different kinds of plants and animals thriving in and around the shores of the lake. As we study and monitor and track the restoration of the lake in the years ahead, this news will get only better. That's why, as part of our SUNY 2020 proposal, we're working with a number of local partners like Onondaga Community College to establish the SUNY Water Research and Education Center at Onondaga Lake. This facility for education and research on the lake would ensure that we continue to learn from this fantastic environmental turnaround story and educate and inspire children and the public alike about ecology and natural systems, and encourage diverse activities in a revitalized Inner Harbor. It would involve a LEED gold building that would provide a unifying facility for SUNY ESF, OCC, and Lemoyne to serve as a local focal point for new academic programs, certificate programs, and continuing education. The important lake research and teaching will continue in this new building, but in reality, its impact would stretch far beyond this facility. For 200 years, Syracuse has been a hub of progress in New York, using canals, railroads, and manufacture to lead the state repeatedly into its new future. Today, Syracuse is an ideal urban setting to reimagine a greener future, to build appropriate infrastructure, and to make this impressive example of restoration ecology a centerpiece in creating that future. Working with our partner institutions, we will assure that the lessons learned from past environmental mistakes, as well as current victories in Onondaga Lake, will be remembered and shared and make this a symbol of the revitalization of Central New York. Governor, thank you for your continued dedication and leadership enriching SUNY, Central New York, and New York State. This SUNY 2020 Challenge Grant investment will make a substantial difference in research, education, and economic development in the lake and region. It's now my great honor and pleasure to introduce the Governor of the State of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Well, it's certainly my pleasure to be back. And there's more good news today. First, to Dr. Quentin Wheeler, congratulations. I don't know that anyone has gotten off to a better start in their job than you have. Give a big round of applause to Dr. Quentin Wheeler. To County Executive Joni Mahoney, who's just doing a masterful job. Pleasure to be with you. Let's give her a round of applause. Mayor Stephanie Miner, who's doing a great job. Mayor, thank you very much for being with us today. Dr. Crabill, congratulations. I know you've been working on this a long time, and it's a big victory for the school, and you deserve it. Congratulations. To the former ESF President, Neil Murphy, congratulations to you for the good work that you've done, and today reflects that. Let's give him a round of applause. Steve Aiello, who now just has to make it all happen. The hard part falls to him. Let's give him a round of applause. Mr. Chairman Ryan McMahon, pleasure to be with you again. Let's give him a round of applause. The godfather of so much of what we see here today, former Mayor Tom Young. Pleasure to be with you, Mr. Mayor. And to my colleagues in the legislature, Dave Valesky, Bill Magnarelli, Sam Roberts, Al Sturpey. It's actually their money, so let's give them a round of applause. Special note on Sam Roberts, he is my hero. I'm a motorcycle guy, and Sam is a motorcycle guy. So we do these events around the state. We just finished doing a whole summer of tourism. And Sam shows up everywhere on his motorcycle. We go to the Adirondacks, he shows up on his motorcycle. And I was impressed then. But the other day, we did a 9/11 ride in Manhattan to the 9/11 site. And Sam showed up there on his motorcycle. That's a really, I take my hat off to him. Sam Roberts, give him a round of applause. I'm so excited about today. You know, for those of you who are here every day, I don't know that you feel the seismic transformation that is going on. You know, I come and go, so I get to see it in snapshots, and I get to see the progress more clearly than you have. But Syracuse is a different city. The region is a different city. The changes, the transformation that it's undergoing is just remarkable and positive, and it's such a pleasure to watch and to be part of. You know, the story of Syracuse was the story of Utica, the story of Rochester, the story of Buffalo, the story of upstate New York. It was a story of a region that was committed to the manufacturing era. That's what we were. And then one day we woke up and the manufacturing era was gone. And they just pulled the economic rug out from upstate New York. And upstate struggled in that economic transformation. Where do you go next? It wasn't just upstate, parts of the Midwest, et cetera. Some places have never recovered, right? and Syracuse was on its own, and the upstate cities were on their own. They looked to the state government, but truthfully, the state government had problems of its own. Couldn't get its own house in order, couldn't get its own budget passed. It was just dysfunctional in and of itself, so it wasn't in a position to help anybody else. They couldn't help themselves. And we went through decades, frankly, where you saw decline. And it becomes a downward spiral. You know, it's sort of like in life, you can get to a bad place and bad things start to happen and bad things start to compound, and it's hard to change that cycle and you start to spin down. The same thing can happen with a collective and a community. We're suffering economically, businesses start to move, jobs move, people then have to leave because they have to follow the jobs, young people start to leave. That leaves a smaller population. Taxes go up on the smaller population because you have fewer people to tax. And you are now in a bad place. And it is a downward spiral. And as I said, the state wasn't in a position to help. And part of what happened in that downward spiral, to be totally frank, as upstate was declining, the political power was shifting to downstate New York. And you look at that legislature and the membership in that state legislature, it's more and more downstate. It's more and more New York City. It's more and more Long Island. So when Sam and Dave and Bill go to fight with that legislature for help for their region, they're outnumbered 10-1. And they're good, but they're not that good. And that then compounds the problem and actually makes it worse. Western New York, somebody said that state government's position was benign neglect to upstate New York. It was neglect. It was an abandonment. And the cities were left on their own, and the cities couldn't do it on their own. They just couldn't pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Sometimes you can't when you're stuck in the mud. 4 years ago, we fundamentally reversed the priorities. Purposefully, directly, and immediately. And we said the economic priority is upstate New York. Why? Because upstate New York is suffering. I love the whole state. I love Long Island, I love New York City, I love the Adirondacks, I love the whole state. The need was upstate New York. Why? Because we had abandoned upstate New York for decades and they were suffering. Well, why should downstate care about upstate New York? Because we are one state. We are culturally, morally, ethically, economically one state. And when upstate New York suffers, downstate New York suffers. I say to my downstate colleagues, we're one set of books. We're one budget. If upstate New York is suffering, then the entire state's going to pay for it. So 4 years ago, we said, let's pivot and let's invest and build in upstate New York. We started with the regional economic development councils, right? Region by region, putting people, the leaders in that region together, come up with your own regional plan because it has to come from that region up, but we will then be there to invest in your region. We took the SUNY system, which was this state's gift to upstate New York, the SUNY system, because it is a jewel. And we said, we're going to invest in the SUNY system. Because Dr. Crabill is exactly right. Education is not just education. Education is education and economic development. Where do the jobs come from now? They come from the schools. So a major asset for upstate New York was the SUNY system. Let's invest heavily in the SUNY system and build that SUNY system. Let's invest in tourism. We haven't even told the story of upstate New York. That's why fishing on Owasco Lake, snowmobiling over here. I love the outdoors. Not as much as I've been doing it, but I love the outdoors. It's been telling people, showcasing the beauty of upstate New York and what we have. Tourism numbers go way up, helps the economy in upstate New York. And then we had startup zones which are just taking off, but I believe are going to be the legacy of Upstate's turnaround. What is a startup zone? A startup zone is a no-tax zone. Geographic zone, several miles, no taxes for 10 years. No income tax, no sales tax, no property tax for 10 years. All those complaints from the businessmen, oh, high taxes in New York. First, we reduced all the taxes. Everybody in the state of New York pays a lower income tax rate today than the day I was elected. Everybody, rich, middle, low, everybody. We brought down the corporate taxes to the lowest level since 1968. Manufacturing taxes we brought down to the lowest level since 1917. So taxes are down across the board. But the startup zones are no taxes. So when a businessman says, well, I'm worried about taxes, the least expensive place in the United States of America to site a business is a startup zone. Cheaper than Texas, cheaper than Florida, because they're literally no tax zones. There are 64 of them in the state. Where are they sited? 59 of the 64 in upstate New York. Why so many in upstate New York as opposed to downstate New York? Because that's the priority. And we want to incentivize business. We want to incentivize business to go upstate. SUNY 2020, just another tool in the toolbox to do the same thing. This award puts all of it together. ESF, a startup zone with ESS, with the community college. Community college is going to be doing the modern day job training, which is training for a particular job, not general training and then hope you get a job. Identify the job and then train for that job. That's what OCC does, which is exactly right. ESF, Water Research and Quality, it's going to work for the lake, but it also has commercial applications. We put a startup zone together with it, and now you have education, entrepreneurship in a no-tax environment that's working on a clean economy. That is every component that works to generate jobs in a new economy, and it's my pleasure to say you've won $20 million to make that dream a reality. And you know what? When I say you come back, you feel it. You feel the momentum growing, you know. It's the amphitheater one day, and then it's the Solvay project, and then it's the state fair is looking better than before and doing better than before and record attendance. Then it's St. Joseph's Hospital renovation. And you feel these achievements just building one on top of the other. Then it's Syracuse film, and nanotech comes to film. And just the way there was a downward spiral, the exact opposite can happen. And you start putting together accomplishments, and those accomplishments start to compound. That's what the Inner Harbor's all about. One hotel announcement, another hotel announcement, now ESF working on cleaning up the lake, OCC doing the job training, hospitality component in a startup no-tax zone. This is going to be the future of Syracuse. And it is so fitting, as Joni said, on the shore of Onondaga Lake, the lake that was the symbol of the stain of the manufacturing era is now the symbol of the shine of the new Syracuse economy. What could be better? Congratulations, it's my pleasure to be part of it.
Thank you. That is the end of our program. Thank you so much, Governor Cuomo. This is a fantastic announcement for us, but I didn't hear anything about your fish. Thank you all for coming.